Haute Route is a classic walking or hiking route in Alps from Chamonix to Zermatt, which is normally done in 14 to 16 days. It's actually really a classic. We planned our route in 5 stages. It could be actually done in variation of the routes, like we went through the valley floor over here, or you can actually go from Chamonix to the left, which is more classic, kind of like to the Mont Blanc route. But we decided to go from the valley floor mainly because of the long days and extreme heat wave which we had in July 2026 this year. Our first stage was from Chamonix and towards the Orsias, and the first path and the first kind of like 10Ks from Chamonix is really easy, mellow paths and also kind of like it's slightly uphill but nothing special, so to speak. We started the route with the really kind of like the empty bottles, and we refilled those in Argentière, where there's a fountain in the village where you can actually fill your bottles. That's what we did, because the first start in the morning we started at 4 or 5 a.m. It's easy to go with empty bottles. And the route goes through Col de Palme, which in the col, there's also a refuge where you can have a morning coffee and refill your bottles, but we decided not to fill our bottles, which I think was a bit mistake because of the heat. But that was our first day. We learned our lesson after the first day. After that, col and uphill, which is kind of like the skiing slope, quite easy going. After that one, it's really runnable down to the valley down to Glacier Valley. There's one refuge in between where we actually drank some water from their fountain, but didn't fill our bottles because it's so much easier to run downhill with empty bottles. We had actually 3 half-liter soft flasks for each and 1 filter bottle for each, so max capacity was 2 liters liquid for both of us. But the first day we decided not to refill for the downhill because we knew there's this small shop or coffee place down in the valley, so we decided to refill the bottles over there. It's much nicer to run downhill, this was really nice downhill to run. Very runnable, bit airy at some points, but it was fine. Nothing special. We are climbers, so we've been climbing, rock climbing and ice climbing for 30 years, so it's nothing that doesn't affect us. The route itself is super nice downhill, and then there's a small river hanging bridge of that one. After the hanging bridge, there's this coffee place. We had the coffee and cokes, so get the sugar in and as much energy as we could. Before heading for the second call, the Col de Ferret, if I remember correctly, we had the coffee and all of those, and they told us that we couldn't refill our bottles because you needed to buy the kind of like water also from there. We thought we could refill, but we said like, okay. But the keepers and those waiters told that at like 2 kilometers ahead, there's a fountain where you can refill the bottles. This year, it's so hot, plus 30, pretty much the whole trip, there's 5 days or 6 days actually, it took us eventually, that the heat was really brutal, and we were totally out of water, and the heat strokes started to kick in. And the fountain was dry, so it was totally dried out. That was a bummer. Luckily, we found really tiny stream down there, and with the filter bottle, we drank probably 2 liters for each because we were so dehydrated. Drank the water and refilled all the bottles because it was so hot. The kind of like the path over here and the trails are really runnable in some parts, but the uphill to Goldefjord, I think that's super steep and slow. It's not that hard, to be honest, going up to the col or going down, but it's super slow. And that was a bit surprise for us. It wasn't new for me. I've been there before. But this kind of like, from this col to Chamonix, I'm like few kilometers down or kind of like 500 vertical down. It's really technical boulder field, super slow this part. But once you get to the river from this onwards, it's really runnable all the way to the rest of the day for the RCS. There's a small kind of like camping area over there where you can refill the bottles. We actually needed to refill before that one in the stream because we were so thirsty. Again, since the super hot weather. And from there we ran all the way to Chamonix where there's a store where we again bought some Coke and bananas, which were basically our main food source. I don't know how many bananas we ate during the trip. We drank the Cokes and so on, and from there the downhill all the way to the RCS it's actually really steep. It was a surprise. It's runnable but steep, and that was fine. We took the hotel and had the dinner and everything in RCS. The next stage, the second day, is super long, which we studied. That's actually, if I remember right, 56 or 7 kilometers, something like that. And 5,500 at least vertical gain. We changed a little bit of the route from the original plan, which was actually a good change. We started at 4 a.m. It started with the vertical kilometer training track or competition track from Swiss versions. It was fun. It was really steep from 25, probably 35 degrees. All the way up to the Col de Mille, and that's like 1.8 kilometers in vertical just to gain from RCS to that one. So there's a lot of vertical gain as a starting point for the morning, but this was really nice, and it was cool. Temperature wasn't that hot yet. We used quite a bit during the trip the sleeves for arm sleeves for this kind of like calls, and especially in the mornings because the wind was blowing over there, and the buff was really useful. After that one, once you get to the top of the call, and there's a Cabernet Mille where we had again coffee and Cokes and so on. It was really nice Cabernet actually. It's good to use the buff for the neck or the windbreaker or sleeves just because of the wind. Just before the call and after the call, like 50 meters before and after, it's always super windy. So we wanted to protect ourselves. Over here for Cabernet Mille, which is reached now, down from there to Cabernet Brunet, and all the way to the Fionnay, it's one of the best tracks or trails I've ever been running. It's super enjoyable. Really single track, super good. So we basically ran with the smile and grin on our face all the way. And we stop in Cabernet Brunet over here and refill our bottles again with the water. This is the Brunet, and there were nice lunch options as well, but it was so early that we weren't hungry at the moment. So we continued again in this heat wave, which was again way above 30 degrees Celsius. And then there's I think this was the second hanging bridge. There's actually, I think, 6 or 7 during the route of these. Some were shorter, some were longer. And just few of them just like swings a little bit, but it's fine if you don't have vertical. Otherwise, it's fine. There is an option also go through the mountains over here, which was our original plan, but this looks so good as a runnable that we decided to go this one because it's a little bit faster, to be honest. It's such a long day. In Corbusier, glacier over there where there's Cabane Panossia, if I remember right, something like that. The hanging bridge over there is quite long, nice views, super nice views towards the Grand Combin glacier, and it's kind of like one of the classics in the area. All the kind of like the trails goes next to this 4,000 meter peaks anyway throughout the whole course more or less, and throughout the glacier. So the views are amazing, pretty much full on. It was sad to see how much the glacier has melted. I've been here the first time in the early 90s, and everything since that, it's just like devastating to see. Like all places in the Alps at the moment. But it is what it is. After the bridge, the kind of like the trail is extremely beautiful, super enjoyable, mainly because it's a single track, and next to the trail there's gonna be kind of like this small man-made free of water, which is super cool, and we dip our kind of like the caps on that one to cool ourselves off. But it also gives a little bit of cold breeze for the legs and so on, even though it was way over 30 degrees at the moment, probably closer to 35. It was actually really nice, cool running after the bridge. We absolutely enjoyed that one. One of the tips for the trip, we checked every single night before the next day from the Swiss Topo map for the fountains where we can refill our bottles, which is actually a super handy application, and also for the closed trails, which they update regularly over there. The main reason for that is there was so many kind of like the rock falls and vanished trails and so on that we needed to change quite a bit of the plans from the original ones. That's a highly recommendable tip for checking every single previous night for the next day plans and do the adjustments if needed. As mentioned, this trail towards the Fionnay, where we had lunch around, 11, or I think it was close to 11, just before or something like that. I can't remember anymore. I think it was close to 11 or 10:30 or something like that. We had the lunch over there. Nothing special. As a vegetarian, needed to ask for pasta pomodoro. But it was good to have a good, proper, kind of like full lunch over there to get all the energy for the next kind of like a leg of the day. As mentioned, this is the small tree on the right side of Magis, who is running in front of me. It gave kind of like super nice breeze and cool off ourselves. It was actually quite tricky to run because of the views. You wanted to look at the views, and you definitely don't want to tumble down from this trail. So pay attention. Even though it's a really nice trail to run. I have to say, probably my favorite part of the whole trip, at least one of those. The kind of like the coolness of the tree down there, it kind of like you can't appreciate it enough. At Fionnay, where we had the lunch, and also I greased my legs every single morning, every single night before going to sleep, and also at least once a day during the trip. I actually used the Body Glide anti-chafing kind of like grease, and I think I used 1.5 portions of those, so a lot. But had the zero kind of like the blisters or any problems with my feet or muscles, except the downhills, and like this one running down to to Fiene for lunch, all the downhills from up back to the valley floor, they're super steep, not that technical in general. Like this one, it's not that technical, but it's steep, so all the kind of like the legs are getting totally smashed during that descent. After lunch, we hiked to the Capanet Louis and called the Louis after this one. In Capanet Louis, there's a really nice lunch, and a lot of people were over there to having, I don't know, Aperol spritz and so on, which looks fancy. But of course, while running, no, not of those for us. The hike up there is super steep, and I really kind of like struggled with the throwing up with the heat and full stomach and absolutely zero wind and probably 35 at least. The temperature and the sun was burning hot. That was really, really tough climb. So it was low. We didn't go as fast as we thought because of the heat. And that was kind of like a theme of the whole trip. It slowed us down quite a bit. After the Capanet Louis, which I highly recommend to actually perhaps have an option of staying there overnight. Our plan was to go to Capanet des Dix, which didn't happen. Later explaining the why. Or actually now, because like after the Louis Capanet, the trail is something that you can't run at all. We thought it would be snowy, so we could run on snow. Since coming from Finland, it's fine. We're so used to running on snow. But it was bone dry more or less, and so bouldery fields, and you need to cross the creeks and all of the rivers, and kind of like it took us like probably 3 times more time than we expected. So it was quite late after around 8 o'clock when we were in Capanet Trailrun. And we needed to make the judgment. We called for the Capanet Dix that okay, it's gonna be too late for us to get there. So we were lucky that they had room for us in Trailrun. So that was a change for our kind of like the day, even though it ended up to be almost 50 kilometers anyway. The night in the Capanet and the food was, well, interesting. Especially the breakfast was super interesting. And the coffee was black. That's enough to say. They put us actually in the ladies' room, which was funny. We couldn't sleep. We lay down for 3 hours and didn't sleep a single minute. And then we decided just like, let's keep on continuing the next day. From there, we went towards the call towards around the Lake Dix, and we didn't go for the Capanet at all. We go around it. No need for that one. And this is after this call, it actually starts to go super runnable all the way through the Arola. Why we were in a hurry and we didn't go for the Dix, which is now pointed over there in that on top hill. There was storm coming, and we knew that, and we decided to push our day for this third day to Arola and check the weather. Then that okay, probably we not gonna make to Sinal either, because it was such a kind of like the storm was so heavy and it was kind of like red lights everywhere that it's gonna be bad one. It's gonna be super gnarly. So we went to Arola, had a shop over there. There's a nice shop. By the way, ensure that it's open because they have the siesta time between 12 to 2:30 or something like that. This part was super runnable, extremely nice views, a lot of animals, like everywhere over there. Marmots, birds, especially I like the vegetation over there, the small flowers. That's my favorite part of the whole trip. The small shop down in Arola, it's not big, but you can get all the essentials. Like we had the Cliff Bars over there, Coke, and tons of bananas again. Our favorite kind of like trail food, I have to say. Everything in Switzerland, as you probably expect, is quite pricey, at least for the Finnish standards. And by the way, the cabanas over there, I think the Brafleuri was 155 francs for two, including breakfast and some kind of dinner type of thing. Because we were overtime, everybody else was eaten, so we got the scraps, basically. But it was fine. We were grateful to have at least few hours break and ease up the legs and so on. There were more than 100 people, so it was the busiest place the whole trip, that place, and only 2 bathrooms. So my high advice is to plan either go all the way to the Arola or stop in Louis or something like that, or go for the digs, I think. But it's a long day for the digs, and it's so slow. Some of from Louis to digs that it's ensure that you have enough time. It was a surprise for us how slow it was. And I think the major reason was for the heat, I would say. From Arola, we continued. Our original plan was to go left from here to upper route from Lac Bleu and all of those things, but like the rockfall has taken down the path over there. So we needed to go from the valley floor. You need to adjust the kind of like the on the go. This hanging bridge was probably swinging the most during out all of these hanging bridges. So all the other long ones, they didn't swing this much, I would say. Well, anyway, we continued from here to the next village after the Arola, where we kind of like plan to have a quick lunch or have a banana or coffee. And by the way, they were climbers in that 35-degree heat, and since we are both climbers, we're like, which is worse, running in 35 degrees or running? And yeah, we didn't enjoy the heat for both, but it is what it is. We got kind of like get used to it. In Arola, by the way, there's also a fountain where you can refill your bottles. And all of those you can find from the Swiss Stopper app. We stop here for the coffee, and immediately when we have coffee, the storm hit us. And we look for the weather forecast, and it looked like it's gonna continue all the way until the morning. So we decided to bail over here and have a night. So our third stage kind of like got only half day. So we cut it as a half. Because for the next day also, for the fourth day in this, so we split the third stage basically in 2 halves. There was also storm coming in the evening, so we didn't which is like one extra night more or less, which was fine because that way we could enjoy all the views and in the good weather and have a breakfast and everything in that day. It was really, really nice. Kind of like to have the views rather than go for the storm and miss all the views of all the stages. It is what it is. So highly advised to have this 1 or 2 extra buffer days if needed of these weather buffers for the trip. Even though I think the 5-day plan was, or 5 stages plan, I would do exactly the same again. So I wouldn't change anything more or less, except have those buffers, which we had. From there, we went all the way to the col. It was quite cold wind in the col, otherwise super hot, but the wind was cold. And after that one, you can run, again, super runnable to the Lake Moiri. There's also Kapane in the far end to the right of that lake and the dam, the opposite direction of the dam. But since you can actually ride by car next to that place, it was super crowded. Next to the dam, there was a cafeteria where we had coffee again and cokes and refilled our bottles over there and ran or hiked up again super hard to this kind of like 3,000 meters again, which is basically daily you go in the 3,000 meters and then run down this hike up. It was super hard again, but like running down from this col, which is the Zinal skiing area next to the slope, basically all the way to the Zinal. It's totally runnable. It was fine. Quite steep again, the end. So it kind of like really kills your kind of like feet, the downhill, because it's such a long descent. And we ran quite fast and because of the heavy packs and so on. So we had a good dinner and nice hotel over there and everything was fine. So good kind of like day. The fourth stage from Zinal to San Niklaus, it follows up the reverse direction of the Zinal classic trail running competition route all the way through the hotel area over there. I mean, it's super beautiful. The trails are 10 out of 10, super runnable. I mean, like pure enjoyment. And it's actually quite fast, even though it's a slightly uphill first and then downhill, like I said, reverse for the competition, which they had normally in August 8th in this year, I think. But it's during the night there was a storm as it was predicted from the weather forecast. So we used, by the way, the Swiss weather application and the Blue application for the weather forecast checkings every night before in the morning and occasionally during the day as well, which was fine. And I highly recommend because like there was storm coming, but it didn't hit only in the night. And of course, these 2 stages we needed to adjust. But the trail is super fun. It's super runnable. We were kind of like super lucky to have the weather and the views over there. And this is, by the way, coming for the hotel over there, where Maki is my friend who was running in front of me, had the kind of like taking a picture of the hotel, which is now seen on the left, and tumbled down and luckily didn't hurt himself. By the way, the whole route and almost anywhere in the Haute Route don't fall. The rocks are super sharp. They're like knives. Then they will cut you. You will get hurt. If you were, I think, except probably the Zermatt part, it's quite smooth. But in general, it's super tough. This climb up to the col, it was actually a little bit mellow, so it wasn't that kind of like steep. But after that one, again, a little bit of powder field. It was super windy in this col, and I was lucky to put the wind jacket on probably the second time of the trip. And I just needed to keep it on like 15 minutes or something. Just across the col, like 50 meters before and like 10 minutes after, and then it's hot again. After that, it ran down for the Gruben, where there's a hotel as well. And we had to, again, lunch over there. Needed to, again, ask for special vegetarian version because they didn't have any. Again, pasta pomodoro, which was fine. Coffee, in Switzerland in general, you can't find a good coffee. It's really rare. It's black, and since being a coffee espresso freak, I can't recommend it anyway. It's shit basically everywhere. It's black. Let's leave it there. After the hike up, again, the boulder field. This is endless boulder field. I don't think it's hard. It's just super slow. Next to the San Niklaus. I personally enjoy it a lot. It varies from the car size to the fist size rocks and not runnable at all, more or less. It's basically just slow jumping from rock to rock. You can feel like a small streams over there to refill the bottles, but we managed to more or less go with one go. Again, refilled in Gruben. There was refilling over there. With those bottles, we continued all the way up. But after the boulder field, just before it turns down to the St. Niklaus, like this part, absolutely amazingly beautiful. And even the rock fields over there, the boulder fields, I think it's part of the route, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's just slow. These running in these kind of like trails, again, this or the kind of like the Corbusier glacier trails are most beautiful for me. Of course, don't make a fall over here. You will tumble down several hundred meters and you will get hurt because of the rocks are so sharp. But I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't need to adjust my running style at all. But probably just me or us. We're quite used to for the vertical type of thing. But absolutely enjoyable. There's a route coming down in the lower part as well, but I wouldn't change it because I enjoyed this so much. Compared to the Mont Blanc tour, if you go, or UTMB Mont Blanc, by the way, the whole route is so much more technical that you can't kind of like compare those two routes. Therefore, in some parts, it's super slow, just to keep in mind. It's not, and personally, I don't think it's hard, but it's just slow. But this was totally enjoyment from the start to the finish. And again, after this, kind of like the nice running paths, you could run all the way down from here to the St. Niklaus, which was fun, but again, super steep, and because it's a long descent again from 3,000 meters all the way to the valley floor, which is like I think 1,000 meters or something, it's brutal for the legs. So that's every single day ends with this brutal downhill, which at least kind of like my legs started to feel that one every single night, not during the running at all, but every single night before you go to bed. In St. Niklaus, which was probably the cheapest of the hotels and the food and everything, I liked it probably the most of the villages over there. It's small, quiet, really nice, and of course it's the last night before end of the trip. You start to feel kind of like that it's just last day to go over there. You start to feel euphoria for the success of the weather and the views, and I mean like each day the views are, I can't make them better. I mean like it's a lot of kind of like the glaciers, a lot of classic Opel and at least since a skier and or snowboarder, it's like and a climber, all of these peaks are classic, the Dome, all of those places. I just love it. Down there you can see in St. Niklaus, so you can see how long down steep descent these are. They are brutal. Fun, but brutal. So training-wise, as at least for Finns and normally where we train, is the elevation difference is 62 meters or something like that in Malminkartana. So we can't kind of like get the training enough for this long, several hour descents. It's quite tough for us, kind of like that way. St. Niklaus was fine, and many of the kind of like paths or the trails are at least part of some classic trail running competition. Super St. Bernhard, UTMB, Monte Rosa, Zermatt, all of these kind of like classics over there. St. Niklaus, after nice dinner and everything, we went for valley floor. Original plan was to go for the left, the higher route. Again, it's closed. Don't go there. We found out or heard that the trails are totally gone. There's absolutely none, and rock falls are really severe over there. So, and there's no signage that it's done like that, which is quite a surprise for me. But from the application, you can see it's permanently closed. They're never gonna open that route again. Too much rock falls. Even the kind of like this route which we took, there were several rock falls while we were going. So we had one close call. But in general, it's okay. But there's a lot of rock falls over there, especially in the Zermatt valley of that one. It was a surprise. I think the most rock falls over there. The trails over that one, because it's in the forest, it was a bit cooler, even though, again, way over 30. And the trails were, again, super fun to run. Legs were really good at the moment, so we weren't tired at all, which was a bit surprise. We stopped at Europa Hut and had a Coke again, and I can't remember if we have a coffee. And it was surprised that there's a Finnish lady who has built and been keeping the place in 26 years, so we could order in our own language. Sort of surprise for us. Really nice place, really nice kind of like atmosphere over there. I would actually recommend you go there once you finish in Zermatt. If you want to stay over, just go for the Aeropart rather than stay in the Zermatt, which was, by the way, the anticlimax of the whole trip, at least personally for me, since I hate humans and I hate people. I don't like the crowded places that way introvert. Out of the Europa Hut, there's this hanging bridge, the longest one of those. That one, I don't know how many 100 meters it is. It's long. It's super long. Nothing special, I would say. It's just long. It's just like endlessly long. I see why, because of the rock falls on the down in that kind of like valley over there. It's full of rock falls, and there were rocks coming, even though we were walking on the hanging bridge. After the hanging bridge, you need to go down. Again, there's the reason for that one part of the trails was vanished because of the rock falls, so they have closed that one. I'm not sure if it's gonna be permanent, that part. We'll see, but at least it was closed when we were over there. Even though the running down was super fun, we enjoyed it a lot, so we didn't mind to go up and down, or down and up. There were a lot of new trails built after going down and going up again. They have kind of like re-established new ladders, new bridges, tons of those. So I highly appreciate that one, and we were thankful to have. And I think it was just reopened, which was nice for us to go up again before heading to Zermatt. Again, a little bit rock falls over there, here and there. And they have actually, some of the parts, they have built the shelters for, if the rock falls come, you can actually head for the shelter during the trail, next to the trail. So the rock falls can pass you. That explains a lot. So I would say that don't challenge those signages if they say the trail is closed. There's a reason for that. And especially this year, 2026, I think the heat wave have melted so much of stuff and make everything loose. So we really, really needed to pay attention. When we went down over there, there's a kind of like, again, fountain where you can refill the bottles, and there was camping ground, and next to that one, there was a kind of like restaurant. We ate again a little bit over there before continuing our trail. We were more enjoying these last parts. So had a good lunch over there. And again, going uphill after the lunch, this part with full stomach, and again 30 degrees plus warmth was quite tough for the stomach and the heat stroke. Well, anyway, the whole once you're up there, the trails are again super enjoyable. And once you start to see, as you can see from here, the Matterhorn on the background, and the trails are like super smooth from here onwards to the end. These were the easiest trails, I would say, for the whole trip. It was pure enjoyment. So surprisingly, we could actually even run faster. So at least personally, my legs felt really light, so I could run kind of like really well. We actually had the joke that maybe we just like should turn back and head the same route back to the Chamonix again, because the legs felt so good. Unfortunately, we didn't have the time for that one. So we basically ran down to the Zermatt, which was anticlimax because of the 10 billion zillion of Chinese tourists, and everything was full and crowded, and I hated it. For me, it's more too much of the tourist trap type of feeling. So we just went there and took the first train off, basically. So not my place. Maybe it's just me. And we headed for our friend's place in Zurich, and basically headed for the roof terrace and enjoy kind of like the hospitality over there, and kind of like enjoy the weather over there. It was much nicer, I would say, especially with the friends. It's always nice to see friends. I highly recommend the route. I highly recommend the 5 stages if you want to have. Please enjoy it. Gear and tips. The whole route, you can actually plan it with 260 kilometers was the longest plan which I had, or the shortest. We end up more or less quite the shortest one compared to our original plan, which was fine. I would highly recommend the 5 stages anyway. Use the app Swiss Topo. It's really good. It's not the most intuitive to use, but you can find the fountains over there, water sources, and all the other layers, the cabanas, the public transportation information, and so on. It's highly recommendable. The gear, we had 20-liter bags. I had the Wrap something 20-liter, and Magis had the Salomon 20-liter. I think that I wouldn't go bigger than that. We had the shoes. I had the VJ Ultra 3s, or I prefer also the La Sportiva Prodigio Pro, which my kind of like trusted shoe, which I've used a lot. 5th pair, I think. Magis had the Salomon S Lab Genesis, and I wouldn't recommend any softer than those. Or any more stack height. The reason for that is so technical and so much rock that it actually you might feel it if you have softer shoes or lighter shoes. I would go for that one. Then we had the down jackets, waterproof jacket, pants, gloves, cap, buff, shorts, which I used only shorts, and the fleece pants actually had in the night in Brafleuri when we stayed there, and one long sleeve shirt, and we had 2 t-shirts and 2 pairs of undies, so we could change those during the night. And we actually washed, and extra socks, so we washed our socks and undies and t-shirts each night in the hotel. And they dried out because it was so warm. We put it outside in the balcony, so they dried out for the next morning. So it was fine. The food-wise, you can have the food around the trip on those villages, small villages, or the cabanas. Just pay attention of the opening hours, more or less. The fountains, it's fine. We had the 3 soft flasks. I wouldn't go less. Plus the filter flask, which was crucial. And the poles were crucial as well. I used 1 full pack of kinesio tape, 1.5 packages of Body Glide anti-chafing grease, 1 full sun lotion of 50 because it was so roasting hot. That was kind of like something that we used a lot. What else? I don't know. I think the kind of like kinesia tape, we need to use that one a lot for the angles. The reason for that, it's so rocky and technical that your angles get really kind of like, because jumping from rock to rock, they get tired more or less. So it was helpful to give a little bit support. And it worked out fine. Also, I needed to actually have the kinesia tape for my wrists because of the poles, and the first time ever I was sweating so much that otherwise I would have had blisters in my under the kind of like the leggy pole straps, which was a surprise and new for me. We were sweating so much. I mean, like that was weird. And the whole trip, I mean, like the heat wave slowed us so much that pay attention of those boulder field type of parts that they are extremely slow. You can't run. The route finding is a task as well. Even though the GPS track in the watches, it was fine, but like pay attention on that one. In general, I highly recommend the route. I would do it 5 stages anyway. I wouldn't go for 4, which was my original plan. I think 5 was a good plan, at least for us. And have few extra days just as a backup because of the weather changes that might come. And if it's gonna rain a lot, pay attention of the rock falls. That's a hazard, the only hazard I would say in the route itself. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, shoot me a message or leave a comment. Thanks.